Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're talking about story missions in Destiny, my top 5 favorites throughout the entire franchise. Now, story missions contain some of Destiny's best content, and funnily enough, they actually also contain some of Destiny's worst content, and it's really kind of a mixed bag on story missions in the Destiny franchise because, again, some of them remain memorable for years, while others you just completely forget about. But with that being said, today I thought I'd share my top 5 favorite missions in the entire Destiny franchise, starting off with Lost to Light from the Taken King campaign. The mission has us recovering a shard of a crystal that once held Crota's soul, and the mission continues like any standard mission in the game, but there's a massive twist at the end that threw everyone off during their first time through. Just when you think the mission has ended, even getting a mission complete notification on the screen, Oryx's shadow appears out of nowhere, summoning a massive amount of Taken, and then we're prompted to flee the area. From then on, the mission was pure chaos while players were trying to escape, and it was a nice surprise and nice change of pace from any other Destiny mission because the one twist at the end always left an imprint on the mind of players. Lost to Light also remains a very special mission because it housed a secret exotic quest, the Black Spindle quest. When Lost to Light was the daily heroic story mission, if you were fast enough, you could find a door that would be opened for a limited amount of time while you were leaving the area, and that door was the door that led to the Tanic Strike area. This little detour threw you into one of the more challenging missions in Destiny's history, swarming you with tons of Taken enemies and a boss fight that was very difficult, and it was timed, adding to the difficulty. I remember helping numerous friends with this quest at the time, and each playthrough was definitely a challenge. This was the first secret exotic mission in Destiny's history that went on to inspire things like the Whisper of the Worm quest and the Outbreak Prime quest missions in Destiny 2, so it holds a very special place in this ranking list. Forsaken's campaign is arguably the best in the entire franchise's history, with a very proper story setup and motivation. The mission designs were very well done, the locations you visited throughout the game, and the enemies and the bosses you came across. Forsaken was great, and it's a shame that it'll be deleted from the game soon. One of Forsaken's best story missions was its very first mission, Last Call. One of the most crucial story missions in all of Destiny. It's where we see the massive prison riot that leads to Cade's death, by the hand of another very important character, Uldren Sov, now known as the Crow, and it was great to play alongside Cade 6 throughout the mission one last time as Bungie showed off a few more great moments with the character right before we see his demise. The mission's gameplay is chaotic and fun, and you cover a ton of ground throughout the Prison of Elders, and you fight so many of the prisoners that were inside, and it's really a dream come true for those who wanted to explore more of the Prison of Elders back in Destiny 1 like I did. And finally, it all culminates in this moment where we see Cade's death play out that kicks off one of the biggest and probably most long-lasting story arcs that still is playing out in the game in a massive way today. And again, it's extremely unfortunate to see such an important campaign be removed from the game, because very soon there will be no way to replay it. Last Call will always stick with me and many other Destiny fans, as our love for Cade 6 has yet to be matched. At number 3, we have the Iron Tomb mission from the Rise of Iron campaign. The Rise of Iron campaign was a little bit short, but it had a few standout missions. The campaign had some great lore and story bits relating to the Iron Lords that we'd heard so much about throughout the lore of Year 1 and Year 2 of Destiny 1, and playing throughout the Rise of Iron campaign was such a sweet homage to the Iron Lords and their stories. It had a fantastic start with taking back the Iron Temple and completing various missions on the Plague Lands and the Snowy Cosmodrome area, but the final mission, the Iron Tomb, was an outstanding and bombastic way to end it all. Heading to the Siva replication chamber and battling it out with Siva-fied versions of the dead Iron Lords like Felwinter, Gellion, and Yolder was so badass, and you get to fight them off with a giant flame axe, and then you get to flee the area after triggering a self-destruct sequence inside the Siva chamber in hopes of destroying Siva for good. Upon completing the mission and destroying Siva, our return to the Iron Temple has Saladin give us the title of Iron Lord, the first of a new generation of Iron Lords, and grants us with the Young Wolf's Howl exotic sword. It was a fantastic end to a great campaign. At number 2, we have Regicide from the Taken King campaign. Regicide is our assault on Oryx in our realm, progressing throughout the Dreadnought, entering his chamber after going through an Ascendant portal, fighting off multiple bosses that he had previously taken through the campaign so far, and then finally coming to his boss room. Now, just outside the boss entrance is some statues of both Nokris and Crota, long before we ever even knew who Nokris was. At the time, there was little to no information about Nokris outside of just his name. The entrance to Oryx's boss room is unforgettable, with such an incredible sense of fear and intimidation. The boss fight itself is a little bit underwhelming in a gameplay sense, but after killing Oryx, we see that he takes himself, ultimately preserving himself by returning to his throne world, where we would later fight him in the raid. And Eris Morn plays out in the next cutscene, discussing more with her queen, who we now know is Mara Sov, and she vows not to fail in her quest to kill the Taken King once and for all. And we, the Guardians, make sure that happens during the King's Fall raid. The Taken King campaign is incredible, and its impact on the game's lore and story is still felt throughout the game today, and Regicide was an incredible ending to such a major piece of Destiny. And before we talk about the #1 spot of the best mission in Destiny, let's talk about a few other missions that just barely missed my top 5. First is the Queen's Ransom from the House of Wolves campaign. It's here that we finally were able to track down and corner Skolas Kell of Kells, the leader of the House of Wolves, and it's here that Mara Sov was able to capture Skolas with our help and send him to the Prison of Elders, where we slay him later. It takes place atop the Citadel on Venus, and the area looks absolutely incredible. Next would be the Last Rites mission from the Taken King campaign. That was a nice change of pace where we'd be sneaking through parts of Crota's throne world. And we did this in order to capture an Ascendant essence in order to infiltrate Ascendant portals. And I also wanted to briefly shout out the first mission of the game, A Guardian Rises, where it all began with our resurrection that kicked off this epic journey. It was quite the introduction to the game that had me almost immediately hooked. And finally at #1 we have Homecoming from the Red War campaign in Destiny 2. I don't know if there could have been a better story mission thematically in the game than Homecoming. While the Red War campaign wasn't the greatest, and Gaul as a villain was a bit underwhelming, I don't think that there's much of an argument that could be made that Homecoming was a bad mission. Starting off with an absolutely badass cutscene of our home, the tower being invaded and the Vanguard's reaction to it all, and then fighting our way through the old tower trying our best to defend it. We fought alongside the Vanguard multiple times during the mission, which was so badass and something I wish we could have seen more of. And partaking in the battle going on in the air would have been even more epic, but we kind of know by now that Bungie has absolutely no interest in bringing ship combat to the game, sadly. But the atmosphere and intensity of this mission was very high, even if the gameplay wasn't all too challenging, simply because of the gravity of the situation. An attack on the tower by a fleet of Cabal was completely unpredictable, and Bungie nailed the opening mission. Meeting Gaul in the first mission as he trash talks us was great, and ultimately losing our light before being pushed off the edge, somehow surviving the fall. Sadly, the rest of the Red War campaign didn't live up to the level of quality as Homecoming. In fact, I think the Red War campaign might be the weakest campaign in the game. But again, Homecoming absolutely nailed the introduction to Destiny 2. But that's just my personal list. Let me know your top 5 story missions in Destiny in the comments section. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, subscribe for more videos just like this, and I will see you all in the next one.